Hello again. Thank you for joining me in another video. So today I wanted to talk about loneliness and friendship. One of the more trending topics, video topics, if you look those up, is I don't have any friends. Um, and I think it's a little bit of an epidemic in modern society, in the state of the world these days. Especially when we know so much about everybody's opinions, it almost seems as if we have forgotten how to be friends with people who don't agree with us. Were we ever friends with them? It's hard to say. But loneliness is definitely a problem these days. It's pretty overwhelming, um, the amount of people who are actually experiencing the problem of loneliness and not feeling like that they have friends or people that they can rely on. Our lives are really separated a lot by the nature of work and commitments and roles and responsibility. And so you're only going to really have time to be around people who are in those same similar kinds of roles. And they might not necessarily be the people that you're going to jive with on a more deeper, resonant level. And so your relationships might lack depth and meaning because the majority of the people you spend time with never get to see the real you because you are always in a role of some kind. So I was thinking about doing this video today because I was feeling a tinge of loneliness this morning. My son had a band concert last night, and I went to it, and I live alone, um, and I'm in a fairly new place, so I haven't built a lot of even any kind of relationships with people. And so sitting in a concert hall by yourself, and not that it was uncomfortable, but it does remind me of times in my life that were terribly uncomfortable in my loneliness. I've never really been very awesome at making a lot of friends. I've always been extremely opinionated, and my opinions are not generally easy to defend because they're opinions that tend to take a lot of time and information to come to. And I've always kind of been this way, just very much paying attention to the world around me in ways that a lot of people don't. And so trying to describe how you come to the conclusions and opinions you come to can be rather difficult. So I've always been really fascinated by the nature of reality and what appeared to be a spiritual world, or what it tends to be called, and I've always felt a presence with me. So a lot of people call that form of a presence God, and we try to make friends when you believe that you're talking to God. Um, just it's not a very easy thing to do. Most people couldn't get away fast enough, right? Nobody wants to hear about your relationship with yourself. And so loneliness can come from this feeling of actually not spending, it's not about not spending time with others, but not spending time with ourselves. And in some regards, the relationships we have with others are a means to a reflection that of ourselves that we can't get any other way. It's kind of like I'm putting out this self, do you see it? And when it is seen, it takes a little bit of that loneliness away. And if the bigger parts of yourself are things that people just simply don't reflect back to you because they aren't interested, and it's a rather private affair, it can really increase that burden of loneliness and the sense of isolation. So the spiritual path in general is a lonely path. You have to get used to being on your own. You have to get used to your own thoughts, your own opinions, and even in the face of everyone else disagreeing with you, you need to find peace in sitting with what you know to be true, which is not as easy as saying the words make it sound. Um, and that can, I guess one of the things, it doesn't translate well into the nature of the world right now, especially because, everyone's complaining about how polarized things are, but not everyone is polarized. There are lots and lots of people who are sitting with a, an agreement on both sides of the fence. In some things I agree over here, in some things I agree over there. Oh, look at those people over there. I agree with one thing they said. And I think that's true for most people. Most people are, or not most people, I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people, okay, are capable of holding like the diverse sorts of thoughts um, that actually are reflected in our society right now, and we don't pick clear sides realistically. Even if we agree with a pretty loud opinion, it might be with exceptions, and everybody's exceptions are going to be a little bit different. And what ends up happening is we like hide these little parts of ourselves that we think other people aren't going to like at all. Like if you think back in high school and what that was like, or grade school, maybe that's a better reference. And wanting to maybe play dress up to go to school and try on different forms of personality, and really focused on the external nature of getting, how do I get people to like me? If I look this way, will they like me? If I say these things, will they like me? Um, and almost in an automatic sense, we begin to prune the idea of ourselves into something that's going to get us relationships with others. I don't know that the relationships are always going to feed the parts of ourselves that lead to a deeper and more meaningful life, actually. Having those relationships are really important for our basic physical, biological needs. Working in harmony with others and being able to cooperate is incredibly important for, those sorts of basic survival things. But the depth of self-actualization, which really leads to a fulfilling life, is a solitary journey. And I think that's what is loud, really loud in modern society right now, because for a lot of people, they've become very aware of the suffering that the world experiences and the kind of lack of fulfilling progress, right? So it seems like an idea of a really healthy environment that allowed us to escalate quickly and advance into some form of, what kind of sci-fi type of future where we're really, happy. The majority of people are happy and getting their needs met and exploring consciousness in ways that we really aren't able to when we're so enmeshed in the physical world. Seeing a lot of that, yeah, does take a person kind of turned inward and looking for happiness in other ways. If we aren't getting it as we're meeting in unity as a group, a civilization, a time on earth, then you need to find it within yourself. And that is a lonely journey. It is an independent sort of path to take. I think in the end, if you do venture down that path, there is peace to be found there when you know that you can finally trust and rely on yourself. I think we get a lot of our information and double check ourselves based on other people's feedback and some correcting, fine tuning based on what others are reflecting back to us. And if we can't trust what other people are reflecting back to us, just then by the nature of, we're well aware of how much information is coming through screens at this point and how it can really create a feedback loop that limits the full depth of investigation and heart-centered heart-centered discernment, um, and a deep knowing, isn't necessarily present all the time. It's almost as if we've just become really silent in some of the deeper places that we investigate, which can make it hard to relate and connect to people. And we have to learn to trust that as we are going deep and finding the peace of sitting with ourselves in that place, that others are experiencing the same thing. And we just don't necessarily have a great vocabulary for it right now. And maybe that is for the best, right? Maybe it's for the best to let that sit on those subtle energetic planes where, we're feeling connected to nature and a larger spiritual organism, but not necessarily with a language that resolves that need for validation and reflection. So I don't know that on all levels friendship is going to meet those needs when you're on a spiritual path. It can certainly help to ease the momentary suffering of your the boredom that life can sometimes supply, right? But the deep work that needs to be done and the loneliness you might feel there is a call to your own self, I think. So I hope some of that gave you a little food for thought on not having any friends. I think it's okay to not have friends that can meet you on that level, and that some of that loneliness that might be aching within your heart is actually a call of your own soul asking to spend time with you and develop a sense of peace and understanding of your own nature. Okay, until next time, take care.